What's up, everyone? Jeremy here from MTG headquarters, doing my pre-release primer. While this particular primer isn't going to have an absolute ton of unique information, as it is the final set in a block and much of the strategy simply rolls over and is maybe expanded upon, we're going to talk about obviously the 100% proven methodology to win your pre-release. Our first slide, we're going to talk about some of your prep. This is very similar in every one of my pre-release prep videos. Pre-seeding lands, maybe 10 of each, saves valuable time. If you're a slow deck builder or you want to take extra time to maybe flesh out a sideboard, pre-seeding lands is just a pro tip. If you can bring morph tokens, I would bring them, although there's not going to be a ton of morphs to deal with. Take some time to learn the new set mechanics. I find that most really good pre-release decks consist of a large percentage of the older cards. Some of the newer cards built in, they're not often built completely around mechanics, but it's still relevant to understand the new mechanics and obviously interacting with other players. Some smaller stuff like getting enough sleep, eating a healthy dinner. You know, I know those sound silly, but they are good. They are ways to help keep your mind clear and keep your body in the right, how do I say, like the right condition for competition. Old competitive, like, what do I call it? Like, I used to have a superstition where I would go to like chess tournaments. I would never eat like a big meal. I would eat small little meals, stuff like that. Bringing snacks, dice, pen, and paper are always really good. I always forget that stuff. A playmat is important too. And again, the obligatory cleanup. Take some pride in your preparation as well as your appearance. It is an event. It is, lots of new people. So staying clean and staying sharp, I think, is a good thing. Let's go through some of the mechanics so that you get to know. Some of these are new, some of them are not. But rather than do a separate video on mechanics, I'm going to work it all into the one here. So our first one, bolsters. So it is the signature ability of the Dramoka clan. It has not changed since Fate Reforged. So basically, it'll say bolster 1. So you put a token on a creature with the least toughness. So if you have a 2/2 creature, a 4/2 creature, and a 3/3 creature, you can actually choose which 2 toughness creature you want to put the token on. So it always goes on the lowest toughness. If there's a tie, you can pick which one you want to go on. Let's look at Sandcrafter Mage, which is a newer card here. 2/2 for 3. When it enters the battlefield, bolster 1. So it's actually a very valuable card, I think. It can be a 3/3 for 3. You basically get 3 power and toughness for 3. So you can put it over on another 2 toughness or less creature, or do it with bolster as you wish. Next, we're gonna have rebound. Rebound is an older mechanic brought back in the Ojutai clan. Rebound is a really fun mechanic. It's actually part of a lot of modern decks. Basically, it lets you recast an instant or sorcery spell a second time for free. So it can seem overly complex, but really, if you cast a spell with rebound, you exile it instead of putting it in the graveyard, and then it comes back and you can cast it again the next turn. Here's an example of Ojutai's summons. For 5 mana, put a 2/2 Jin Monk creature token with flying on the battlefield. So basically, at the beginning of my next upkeep, this spell resolves again. So you get 2 2/2 flyers for 5. This spell isn't that great, I don't think, for 5 mana. But it does kind of show you what rebound. It does obviously have rebound. Next, I'm going to go on to exploit. It is a signature ability of the Silumgar clan. When a creature with exploit enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature you control. Then to kick into a particular effect, you can even sacrifice that particular creature. So each creature with exploit has another ability that gives you benefit. So let's take a look at an exploit creature. Silumgar Butcher, 5 mana, 3/3. But it also has exploit. When it exploits a creature, target creature gets -3/-3 till end of turn. So you can basically cast this. You could cast and sacrifice this creature, so pay 5 to get something -3/-3. So again, it's situational value. I don't love it. Seems overcosted, but late game, getting rid of some irrelevant creatures for a relevant ability seems like good value. Then we have Dash. This is the same since Fate. Basically, it's an alternative casting cost that allows you to bring a creature in with haste, and at the end of your turn, it gets returned to your hand. Let's look at a creature with Dash. Here's Sprinting Warbrute for 4 and a red. It attacks each turn if able, but you can also pay 3 and a red to dash it. So let's say the board is even and you top deck this on turn 4, you can cast it and get through. If there's no creatures on the table, maybe you only have 4 mana, so you want to cast something with Dash, get them for 5 damage, and then pass the turn. Dash is a useful mana sink sometimes. If you don't have something to do on that turn, if you can attack through, it's better than doing nothing. Now let's look at Formidable. It's a signature mechanic of the Tarkir clan, red-green. So every Formidable ability is different, but it all comes into play when you have creatures totaling a total power of 8. So it's a lot like the Ferocious mechanic, and each creature will outline exactly what it does. So let me show you. So here's Stampeding Elk Herd for 5 mana, 5/5. Its Formidable trigger says, whenever Stampeding Elk Herd attacks, if creatures you control have a total power of 8 or greater, creatures you control gain trample till end of turn. So you could, let's say, cast a pre-combat pump spell to get, maybe this is a 5/5 you're attacking in. They only have 1 blocker, but you want to get through for trample, so you cast like Awaken the Bear, which gives it +3/+3. Actually, it does give it trample anyway, but you get where I'm going. You could pump this creature, then attack so that it triggers Formidable, or cast a 3 power creature before you attack so that you have 8 on the board when you attack to trigger it. Lots of different ways that you can play with Formidable, and Formidable is a very sealed type effect because there will be a lot of times where you have just a lot of power on the board. You might be in a board stall situation. So it's an okay ability. Now we have Megamorph. As Wizard says, it's everything you loved about Morph, if you loved Morph. So basically, if you understand how Morph works, this is basically the same. The only difference is that if you turn a face-down creature with Megamorph face up by paying its Megamorph cost, not only will it suddenly have the normal characteristics, but you'll be able to put a 1/1 counter on it as well. So I don't know. Megamorph seems like a reach as a mechanic. I really personally don't like it. It's clunky. But remember, turning a creature face up does not use the stack, and it cannot be responded to. Here's a creature, Airy Bowmasters, 4 mana for 3/4 is okay in this format. 3/4 reach, but also has Megamorph. So you can morph it for 3 basically. Okay, and then if you pay the 5 colors and 1 green, it becomes a 4/5 with reach. All right, so I guess late game it's okay to sink your mana into this kind of stuff. I don't know, but that happens to be Megamorph. So it's not that complex. So you guys have all seen now all both the new and the returning mechanics. This is kind of my personal opinion, ranking the clans. I think I don't want to argue about it. I think each clan is individually good. And again, as I always say, your deck is only going to be as good as your pulls, as good as whatever you get in your sealed pool. So really picking your clan should just be mostly about what you want to play, what you feel like identifying with. I mean, you have your seeded pack and whatnot, but for the most part, you're still opening 5 totally random boosters, and you'd end up playing just about anything. So having 1 seeded booster normally does not dictate. It's not like so deep into the color that it just forces you into playing Dramoka or Ojutai or Silumgar or whatever, or Kolgan, you know? I think the 2 weakest definitely are red-green and red-black, Atarka and Kolgan. Silumgar is good, but that color does have a tendency to get overrun early, but tempo is definitely a very good sealed strategy. Again, if you like any of the, depending on how they ranked, you know, if you like Kolaghan, play it. That's what I'm saying. I don't think picking Dromoka makes you any more likely to win, or only marginally more likely, because I think you have access to two of the most powerful colors, white and green. But I think white and blue are also very powerful. But if you have a great Kolaghan pool, play Kolaghan. I mean, you have to let your cards really do your deciding for you. And so when the most important thing is, so when you look at ranking the clans, you got to look at the commons, right? So white has like pacifism, which is insanely efficient removal at common. So you want to look at the commons that could be in your pool, and then let that decide what color you might be playing at the Dragons of Tarkir pre-release. Here we have deck building. So again, a lot of these tips kind of translate over from my Fate Reforged one, but one big key is like, don't stop and smell the roses. Open your packs and sort by color. That's one of the earliest things I started, you know, it behooves you to know at least take at least a cursory look at the spoilers so you know a little bit about the new cards. But remember that you will also be playing plenty of the older cards too. So I like to, when I do seal pool, I get my cards, I open the pack, I maybe glance at the rare, but I open all my packs, I immediately start sorting them into color. Because regardless of what rares you open or what uncommons you open, it doesn't matter until you sort everything out and you see what you have to build your pool. So don't spend too long enjoying, you know, all the little stuff, the card in there and the dice and the pins or stickers or whatever things they give you to distract you. Look at that between rounds. This time around, I normally would recommend 18 lands. One, in sealed, it's okay to play 18 lands, I think. With Dragons of Tarkir, or Khans of Tarkir and Fate Reforged, it was almost something I would recommend. But now it's more of a two-color format, and I think that does make playing 17 possible again. You do have a chance to get some fixing, which would be nice. We should really stick to two colors in this format, maybe splashing a third. Again, use a variety of creatures, size, ability. You know, you want a couple things with reach. You want a couple things with flying. You want a couple things with death touch or whatever. Well, death touch is, you get where I'm going. And casting, with a misspelling, casting creatures or something relevant each turn after turn 2 is still a strong win condition. So this is something I talked about in Fate Reforged. Playing a creature on turn 2, turn 3, then flipping a morph, or on turn 4, then flipping a morph on turn 5, you win a lot of games just being able to do that. So you want to have a good mana curve. You want to have enough 2 and 3 drops to make sure you can do that. Sealed is usually slower. So remember, late game bombs are a little more important than in draft. I don't usually want to take a bunch of 5 and 6 drops in draft, but in sealed, you can maybe play 2 or 3, 5 or 6 drops. Evasion, again, is one of the strongest features in sealed. It's still strong in draft, but I think it's even stronger in sealed. So, like, things that are unblockable, things that are flying, that's all really good. And remember to have a way to break board stall. So big banner effects. You know, removal is something, but it's usually spot removal. So if you end up board stalled, you need just a big fat flyer to get through, or something that's unblockable. That's why evasion is so important. Let's talk a little bit about mana curve. This doesn't really change from Fate Reforged. This is just a suggestion, not a hard and fast rule. So maybe you want 1, with a converted mana cost of 1, you want 0 to 2. 2, you want 4 to 6. 3, you want 3 to 5. 4, you want 4. 5, you want 3. 6, 1 to 2. Again, you can shift this around based on your pool, but you get the general idea that you should have the most creatures in the 2 to 4 slot, with most of them coming in either 2 or 4. So let's talk about a few bearded nuggets. I mentioned this earlier. Really try to stay 2-color. I can't tell you how much my draft win percentage went up when I started to stick to 2-color, and I think not only do we lose the fixing, and not only is this last set kind of geared towards the 2-color, if there isn't great fixing, believe me, losing to variance sucks the big one. So keeping your mana right just removes a potential issue by running 2 colors. You know, maybe instead of losing 2 games to, or 1 game to variance with 2 colors, you would lose 2 or 3 games if you're running 3 colors, right? So the more color mana you have, if you don't have all the fixing, you increase your chance of getting mana screwed. So 2 colors safe. Sideboard tech is worth the time, so don't just skip over it. What I like to do is build my deck, then take all the cards that are in my colors, like put them in my top pocket, and then I put all the rest in the box and I put it in my backpack. So that way, in between games, I can pull something out, like maybe something that just targets flyers, or maybe something, you know, like a Death Frenzy or something like that. If all of a sudden I'm playing a Mardu deck, you know, you want to be able to board that stuff in and out, and it's easy just to go to the next round or lose and like, yeah, whatever, shuffle. Or even if you win, remember, even if you win, you should still consider sideboarding. Oftentimes, Seal doesn't leave a lot of room for super secret sideboard tech, but a little bit will help improve your win percentage. I think in this set, marginal removal, like there's that 4 mana spell in Fate Reforged that just kills flyers or an enchantment. I think being able to kill flyers at instant speed is relevant. Things like Flatten or Throttle are actually even better now with a wide variety of 4 toughness dragons and things that you have to deal with. Marginal removal gets better. All removal is really good and sealed. Take your time to shuffle really well. I usually do like 7 piles, and then I bridge shuffle a couple times, and I pile shuffle, and then I try to shuffle up real good. Don't let your stuff clump, especially between game 1 and game 2. I can't tell you how many times on game 1 of the night I see somebody get mana screwed like immediately, and then after game 1, people not shuffling good enough end up with all their land at the bottom of their deck or all their land at the top of the deck, and you really don't want to be mulliganing. So take the time to shuffle well. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but don't ask your opponent, ask a judge. That's what they're there for. People know, more experienced players know that pre-release brings in a lot of newer players or people that haven't played in a little while, so nobody's going to get mad if you have to stop them and ask a question. Or nobody's going to be offended that if you just say, hey, you know, I know you probably know, but is it cool if I just ask the judge? I just want to be sure. You know, that's just part of the game, right? Some other side notes, you know, introduce yourself. Meet new people. Take that time between rounds. You finish your round in 15 minutes. You got 45 minutes to sit there and do nothing. You might as well talk to some people. Do some trades. You know, do the side events or side things that Wizards gives you, and just kind of be a part of the group. Don't just kind of go outside and chain smoke cigarettes until the next round. I try to go out of my way to talk to people, and I've been really rewarded for it. You know, and the most important, kind of famously in my last pre-release primer, I talked about, you know, the guaranteed way to win being open a god pool. That's sort of the case. I mean, you can open a really good pool and certainly lose. There's no guarantees when you open a really, really good pool. But sealed, unlike draft, is more like boom or bust. Like, I played sealed last night, and I opened one of the absolute worst pools I've ever opened in my life, and I 0-3'd. And I can't think of a time I ever 0-3'd in a sealed event. So I felt like I didn't misplay anything. I knew it was a terrible pool, and I went on to lose a bunch of games. So anyway, sorry about that. Dinner menu decisions had to be made. So as I was saying, remember, don't get so discouraged about you opening your pool of the cards that you get, because that's random, right? I mean, sometimes you're going to play somebody who's just got the Nutter Butters deck, and there's nothing you can do. And sometimes you'll luck out. It's just part of Sealed. Sealed has a wide variety of decks. The best thing you can do is try to follow some of these instructions and minimize your chance to be affected negatively by variance. By what I mean is sticking to 2 colors, following the proper mana curve for your creatures, playing the correct number of creatures, correct number of spells, will greatly increase your chance of not having to be mana screwed, right? And you can just win a lot of games by being able to cast creatures. Remember, I talked about that earlier. So, you know, that in my experience is a very, very powerful win con. So I hope that you guys, you know, I'm going to be answering questions in the comment section down below. I hope you guys go and have a ton of fun at your Dragons of Tarkir pre-release event. I will be playing the Midnight at Games Universe in Menominee Falls. And maybe I'll play Sunday too. I'm not sure. But we'll also be doing all the pre-releases on MTGO, live on twitch.tv/MTG headquarters. Pre-release day, all day on that Friday. And we'll upload some to YouTube. So thanks for watching this. Go like the Game Finder Facebook page. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already, check out some of our most popular playlists from MTG blogs,